The Brown Mountain Lights first made headlines in the Charlotte Observer in 1912, igniting a firestorm of intrigue and speculation. The U.S. Geological Survey stepped in to investigate in 1913, with Agent D.B.C. Sterrett attributing the lights to mere reflections from trains. Fast forward to 1922, and another USGS study by George Mansfield pointed fingers at automobile headlights, locomotives, and brush fires. Yet these government reports missed the mark entirely. Growing up exploring every nook and cranny of the Wilson Creek Gorge, I knew something extraordinary lurked in those woods. On a camping trip in the 1990s, my friends and I stumbled upon a phenomenon that defied all official explanations. Imagine witnessing hundreds of glowing orbs descend from the sky for a whole hour, moving in patterns that no known phenomenon could explain. What began as a perfect camping trip in the Appalachian Mountains quickly spiraled into the most unsettling night of our lives. It was early November, and the leaves clung to the trees in a breathtaking display of reds and golds. 5 of us trekked down the trail to Wilson Creek, our heavy packs bouncing with each step. The familiar scent of pine and damp earth filled the air, a comforting reminder of the countless times I'd roamed these woods since childhood. My usual backpacking crew, John, Michael, Dan, and I, had invited a friend from Lake Santitla, North Carolina, a fishing enthusiast seeing the gorge for the first time. His eyes widened as we descended into the canyon, the towering walls of Whiteside Mountain rising majestically above us. The afternoon sun warmed our faces, and sweat beaded on our brows despite the cool mountain air. The sound of the rushing river beckoned us onward. We set up camp near the water's edge, the soothing sound of the flowing river mingling with our laughter and the rustle of nylon tents. The fishing was phenomenal that day. We caught 6 trout, their silver bodies flashing in the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy. My hands grew numb from the cold water, yet the thrill of each catch fueled our excitement. Our fishing friend couldn't stop grinning as he expertly wielded his fly rod. As evening approached, we built a fire and cooked our catch. The flames crackled and popped, sending sparks into the darkening sky. Our voices echoed off the gorge walls as we shared stories and jokes. The temperature plummeted once the sun dipped behind the mountain, and our breath formed small clouds in the chilly air. Around midnight, someone suggested moving to the large flat rock a third of the way across the river, ideal for stargazing. We grabbed our sleeping pads and carefully navigated the slippery rocks, the cold water rushing around our ankles. The river's roar enveloped us, creating a cocoon of sound that felt isolating yet peaceful. The flat rock was icy beneath our backs, even with the thin pad separating us from the stone. We lay there, gazing up at the stars. One friend pointed out constellations, his voice filled with awe at the remote beauty surrounding us. Above, the dark silhouette of the Blue Ridge Mountains obscured part of the Milky Way. We felt completely at ease. This was my childhood playground after all. Every trail, rock formation, and river bend was a familiar friend. That sense of security lulled us into laughter and conversation, our voices carrying across the water. And then, it happened. Our friend's voice cut through the night like a knife. "What the hell is that?" he exclaimed, pointing skyward. We all turned to look, squinting into the darkness. Initially, we saw nothing, but gradually, glowing shapes materialized above the mountain, sending shivers down our spines. "Probably embers from a forest fire," someone suggested, attempting to rationalize the inexplicable. It seemed logical at first. Yet, as we watched, our rational minds struggled to reconcile what our eyes witnessed. These lights weren't falling like burning debris. They moved slowly, deliberately, sparking disbelief and awe. The orbs glowed with an internal light, pulsing and shifting as they descended like floating parachutes, drifting across the river valley in impossible patterns. Some were large, others small, but all defied the laws of physics as we understood them. Our laughter faded, replaced by stunned silence, broken only by the river's steady rush. For a moment, we barely breathed, fearing that speaking might break the spell. Then dozens more lights appeared, revealing that this was only the beginning. For an entire hour, we watched hundreds of glowing orbs fall from the sky, some blinking green and blue before vanishing at tree level. Others drifted across the river like glowing phantoms. When we finally returned to camp, sleep eluded us. We talked until dawn, trying to comprehend what we'd just witnessed. The experience had left us both exhilarated and unnerved, forever altering our perception of the world we thought we knew. That night changed everything. I had grown up exploring that area, but nothing compared to this experience. The Brown Mountain lights remain unexplained, appearing to anyone daring enough to look. No government report has ever provided a satisfactory explanation for what we witnessed that night. Even early 20th century USGS agents attributed many sightings to train and car headlights. But those theories fell flat against the reality of what we saw. The experience left us all with a profound sense of wonder and unease, a memory that lingers to this day. That single night transformed my skepticism into a lifelong conviction. Now, when I scan the gorge at night, there's a part of me that half hopes and half dreads to see those lights again. Since the tragic derailment on August 27, 1891, Bostian Bridge has been a site of whispered reverence among railroad workers along the western North Carolina line. Their voices drop to hushed tones when recounting the ghostly figures they've encountered. Nestled in the rugged Appalachian Mountains, the bridge is often shrouded in morning mist that clings to the creek below, creating an eerie atmosphere. Workers report sightings of men in old-fashioned railroad uniforms carrying lanterns, their faces gaunt and eyes reflecting an otherworldly light. The chilling sounds of metal grinding against metal fill the air on quiet nights. These encounters are a haunting reminder of the tragedy where 22 souls perished when their train plunged into the creek. Locals believe their spirits refuse to rest, but these sightings are just the beginning of the mysteries at Bostian Bridge. Modern paranormal investigators, armed with courage and curiosity, describe an invisible weight pressing on their chests as they approach Bostian Bridge. It's as if the very air remembers the tragedy, hitting them with a physical force that makes it difficult to breathe and causes their hearts to race. Many feel as though an unseen presence is crushing them, their shoulders hunching forward as they struggle against the oppressive atmosphere thickening with each step toward the bridge. The weathered iron bridge spans the creek below, its metal joints creaking in the wind as morning fog clings like ghostly fingers to the water. Decades of wear show on the rusted beams, their once strong surfaces, now pitted and stained by time and weather. The creek water flows slowly beneath, creating a constant murmur that seems to carry whispers from the past. The surrounding Appalachian landscape rolls away in all directions, dense forests leaning toward the bridge as if trying to conceal it. The mystery of Bostian Bridge is as thick as the fog that surrounds it. Visitors report sudden temperature drops of 20 degrees, even on warm summer days, their breath becoming visible in these cold spots. The chill doesn't arrive gradually like normal weather changes, but strikes instantly, causing people to shiver uncontrollably and wrap their arms around themselves. These frozen pockets of air roam the bridge area, forming an unnatural pattern that defies explanation. Some describe walking through these cold zones as stepping into a freezer, while others feel touched by icy hands. The physical sensations extend beyond cold. Waves of nausea hit, churning stomachs and spinning heads. Dizziness forces many to grip the bridge railings for support, their legs weak and unsteady. Perhaps most unsettling is the sense of being watched by unseen eyes. Visitors feel as though dozens of invisible people are observing them, scrutinizing their every move with intense interest, making their skin crawl and raising goosebumps. Eyewitness accounts detail lantern-carrying figures in old railroad uniforms, their faces gaunt and hollow, appearing briefly, before vanishing. These spectral workers walk the bridge with purpose, as if still performing duties from over a century ago. Their uniforms hang loosely on their thin frames, their eyes reflecting an eerie light that freezes witnesses in terror. Weak, flickering lanterns cast a light that bends and twists unnaturally. The sounds that haunt the area amplify the terror. The grinding of metal on metal echoes through the valley, as if massive train wheels still attempt to grip the rails. Distant screams seem to emanate from the earth itself, carrying the voices of those who perished in agony. The phantom whistle echoing through the mountains is perhaps the most chilling, starting as a low moan and rising to a shriek that sends listeners running. These phenomena trace back to the 1891 disaster when 22 souls perished as their train derailed on the bridge, plunging into the creek. Passengers were thrown from seats, crushed by debris, and trapped in wreckage. The screams of the dying filled the air as rescuers worked frantically to save survivors from the twisted metal and splintered wood. In 1941, a woman witnessed the ghost train itself, watching in horror as a phantom locomotive appeared on the tracks and vanished just as quickly. She described seeing the entire train, complete with passenger cars and smoke billowing from the engine, cross the bridge in silence before disappearing into thin air. Her account became one of the most famous ghost stories associated with the bridge. The ghostly activity intensified after the 2010 tragedy when ghost hunters mistook a real train for the phantom and paid the ultimate price. Christopher Kaiser died pushing his girlfriend to safety when an actual Norfolk Southern train approached while they were on the active tracks. The group had been investigating paranormal claims when the real train caught them off guard in the darkness. Locals believe the spirits of both the 1891 victims and the 2010 victim now haunt the bridge together, creating a layered haunting that grows stronger each year. They say Christopher Kaiser's spirit joined the others, adding his energy to the supernatural activity. Witnesses report seeing a young man in modern clothes among the old railroad workers, all of them trapped in an endless cycle of death and sorrow. But the bridge's supernatural grip extends beyond visual apparitions and strange sounds. Bostian Bridge remains an active hotspot where the past refuses to stay buried, with new reports surfacing every year. Paranormal investigators continue to document bizarre encounters, as their equipment detects temperature fluctuations and unexplained sounds that make their hands shake and hearts pound. The bridge draws curious adventurers from across the country, all seeking proof of what locals already accept as truth. Some places hold onto tragedy so tightly that they become permanent doorways between the living and the dead. Bostian Bridge is one such place, where the veil between worlds is thin, and the echoes of the past linger. The next time you hear a train whistle off in the distance while traversing the Appalachian Mountains, it might just be the ghost train, or perhaps not. The bridge invites those who dare to explore its mysteries, leaving them wondering what truly lies beyond the mist and shadows. The legend of the Mothman has gripped the imaginations of many ever since that fateful night in Point Pleasant, nestled in the heart of the Appalachians. This spine-chilling tale isn't just a campfire story. It's a real-life nightmare that began on a cold November night in 1966 at the abandoned TNT plant. The crisp November wind sliced through the darkness as the first witnesses described an enormous figure with an impossible wingspan that stretched across the road, its burning red eyes hypnotizing anyone who dared to look directly at them. The creature emerged in the darkest and most isolated part of town, near the old World War II munitions plant. Even decades later, locals feel as though they're being watched, sensing something moving in the shadows. Was it a warning, or the beginning of something far more sinister? The answer lies with what happened that terrifying night when 4 young people encountered something that would forever alter Point Pleasant's history. On November 15, 1966, 2 young couples set out for a quiet drive through the West Virginia countryside, unaware that they were headed toward an encounter that would haunt them forever. Roger and Linda Scarberry, alongside Steve and Mary Millette, embarked on what should have been a peaceful evening. As they drove, the autumn air's chill prompted them to roll up their windows, while bare tree branches scraped against the car like skeletal fingers reaching from the darkness. The TNT area loomed before them like a forgotten wasteland. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the sound of their car's engine broke the eerie silence. Concrete bunkers from World War II lay scattered across the landscape like silent tombstones, their weathered surfaces cracked and stained by decades of neglect. As they drove in silence, headlights slicing through the dense woods, dead leaves swirled across the empty road, and the cold seeped in despite the heater's struggle. Then, their headlights illuminated something massive moving in the shadows near one of the concrete bunkers. Roger slammed the brakes, and the car jerked to a halt as all 4 teenagers stared ahead in disbelief. Something unimaginable stood in their path, blocking the narrow road. The creature towered nearly 7 feet tall, its muscular frame casting an enormous shadow across the asphalt. But it was the eyes that left Linda breathless. 2 glowing red orbs like blazing coals that seemed to read her deepest fears. Linda described it as a slender, muscular man about 7 feet tall with white wings. But those words couldn't capture the paralyzing presence. The creature's white wings spread wide against the night sky, creating a wingspan that seemed to stretch across the entire road. Her hands trembled uncontrollably, and her heart pounded so fiercely she feared it might burst from her chest. Roger gripped the steering wheel tightly, while Steve and Mary sat frozen in the back seat, unable to move or speak. Their desperate need to escape finally shattered their paralysis. Roger floored the gas pedal, and the car surged forward as they sped away from the creature. But relief was fleeting. The thing pursued them, effortlessly keeping pace with their speeding car, as they raced through Point Pleasant's winding roads. Roger pushed the speedometer past 100 miles per hour, yet the creature remained close behind, its wings barely moving as it glided through the night air. Linda heard a high-pitched squeal like a giant mouse, cutting through the darkness, a sound that made her skin crawl. Realization dawned on them with growing horror. This thing was hunting them, chasing them through the dark mountain roads like prey. Those burning red eyes never wavered as Roger navigated each turn at dangerous speeds, the car sliding on loose gravel and dead leaves. The headlights illuminated the road ahead in frantic sweeps as they careened toward town, praying for safety before the creature caught up. The first witnesses encountered a creature so terrifying it left them traumatized for life. In the days that followed, they were sleepless and on edge, jumping at every shadow. They couldn't shake the memory of those burning red eyes that seemed to peer into their souls, eyes that haunted their dreams and instilled a fear of the dark. Linda, Roger, Steve, and Mary were forever changed by that November night, their encounters sparking a legend that still grips Point Pleasant today, as if the creature's presence awakened something dark within the town. The terror from that November night refuses to fade from Point Pleasant's collective memory, Residents continue to report glimpses of red eyes glowing in the shadows near the old TNT area, feeling an overwhelming sense of being watched whenever they venture too close to those crumbling concrete bunkers. The wind still moans through rusted remnants, and the forest seems to hold its breath. Some believe these sightings served as warnings of the Silver Bridge collapse that claimed 46 lives just over a year later, linking the Mothman to Point Pleasant's darkest tragedy. This connection between the mysterious creature and the catastrophic event has only deepened the lore surrounding the Mothman, leading many to wonder if the creature serves as a harbinger of doom. Even today, the legend of the Mothman draws curious visitors to Point Pleasant, hoping to catch a glimpse of the elusive creature or to feel the eerie presence that lingers in the shadows. The annual Mothman Festival celebrates the town's unique place in paranormal history, attracting enthusiasts from around the world who gather to share stories, explore the area, and delve into the mystery that continues to captivate imaginations. For the residents of Point Pleasant, the Mothman is more than just a story. It's a part of their identity, a reminder of the strange and unexplainable events that have shaped their town. As the sun sets over the Appalachian hills and shadows stretch across the landscape, one can't help but wonder if the Mothman still watches from the darkness, waiting to make its presence known once more. So, if you ever find yourself driving down a lonely road in Point Pleasant and catch sight of those glowing red eyes staring back at you, remember the tales of those who came before. The legend of the Mothman invites us all to explore the boundaries of fear and curiosity, challenging our understanding of the world and what might lie beyond the veil of the ordinary.